Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Fresno City Hall for our afternoon meeting of August 18th, 2016. So, again, welcome and thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? I could do that if you like. All right. For roll call, Councilmember Soria. Here. Councilmember Brandow. Here. Councilmember Baines. President Capriolio, I'm here, of course. Vice President Quintero.
Here.
Councilmember Brand. Councilmember Olivier. Next is our invocation, and we have the honor of Renee Smith performing that for us today. And would everyone please stand, and after we do the invocation, remain standing, and we'll salute our flag. Thank you.
Will you bow your heads as I pray? Lord, in the scriptures it is written that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace and order and justice. Therefore, I pray for our mayor and city manager, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of welfare and true needs of our citizens, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, confidence in what is good and fitting, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, personal peace in their lives, and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them today. Please give an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live, work in and around our beloved city of Fresno. God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with the understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. Give us a spirit of service. Remind us that we are stewards of your authority. Guide us to be the leaders your people need. Help us see the humanity and dignity of those who disagree with us, and to treat all persons, no matter how weak or poor, with the reverence your creation deserves. And finally, Father, renew us with the strength of your presence and the joy of helping to build a community worthy of the human person. We ask this as your sons and daughters, confident in your goodness and love. Amen.
Face the flag. Ready? Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, Assistant City Manager Smith. That was very inspiring. Thank you. Okay. Next is ceremonial presentations, and we have the SPCA Pet or Pets today, Pets of the Month. So thank you for being here. Remember, Soria, I think, is going to do the dialogue. Steve, you have cats. How about a couple of puppies? Steve, you have to handle that like a dog. I know you like cats and know how to handle them, but this is a dog. There you go. Behind the ears, it's really good.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very excited to be here with SPCA, trying to promote their adoption program and hopefully get a nice, great home for these young puppies. They're 2 months. I have Carly here, very, very cute. And there we have Sam. He is, or she is all black with a little bit of gray on her beard, her beard, her goatee. So we're excited here to really encourage folks to adopt these little pups that are in desperate need of a home. I want to thank SPCA for the program and really educating our community of the opportunity to adopt. So maybe if you can share a little bit of the program, the hours, and so forth.
Okay. So first off, the shelter is located at 103 South Hughes. We have plenty of puppies right now and dogs and cats that need to be adopted. The process is really simple. So all dogs need to be spayed and neutered before they go. These guys are not spayed yet, so if you were to say adopt these, it would take a few more days to pick them up. We are having a promotion to celebrate our 70th birthday. So dogs are going to be a flat fee of $70 for the weekend. Cats are going to be $50 as well. So adoption fees are reduced from $180 all the way down to $70. And then we also have our Bets for Pets coming up on the 20th of this month. So it's also a fundraiser. It's casino night. It's also to celebrate our birthday as well. So come on out. You can RSVP online or call the shelter. We're going to have adoptions there as well.
Great. So we just want to again encourage everyone to come out and adopt these beautiful puppies. And I know that also at SPCA you can find other wonderful dogs and cats and other pets that are also in need of a home. So we encourage folks to visit our local SPCA. Thank you for being here.
Only in America.
All right, thank you. Thanks for being here, and you always bring such wonderful little pets and animals. So next we'll do the recognition of the community sponsors for the 2016 West Fresno Family Resource Center Summer Enrichment Program. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought that was misread. So apologies, I'm still on Montana time. So this one would be a certificate of recognition to Jasmine Mejia, summer intern, District 1. Councilmember Soria.
Perfect. So I am very delighted to be here this afternoon. I want to call on Jasmine, who was one of our interns this summer. Come on down, Jasmine. And she just finished doing an internship with our office last week. We love having interns in our office because we understand how valuable the experience of an internship can be, and we want to give her appreciation for all the work that she did in our office. It was a little bit chaotic because we were moving, getting new rug, but she definitely helped us during that process to get through. She helped us get more organized, make sure that all our contacts were up to date, and she helped us get organized with the alley issues, which I shared during the budget time we're trying to address within our community. So we're very grateful for the work that she did in our office. I do want to share just a little bit about her. So Jasmine is a student at San Francisco State University. She is majoring in international relations, and we're very proud of her because she'll be graduating next year. And so we want to wish her good luck in everything she does. We're hoping that we can lure her to come back to Fresno to continue doing some great work here. I also want to recognize her mom, who we've had an opportunity to meet. She is back there, and she's been a great supporter, and so we'll make sure that she comes back to Fresno and so to continue doing the great work. So again, we just want to give you a little token of our appreciation with a little certificate that I'll just read. So the City of Fresno presents this to you, Jasmine Mejia, for being our Summer Intern District 1. On behalf of our office, it is a pleasure to give you the honor to honor you, your commitment with the constituents of District 1. Thank you for all your hard work and dedication to improving the lives of all the residents of the City of Fresno. And so we wish you again best of luck this next school year, and we want you to stay in touch with us. I have one more.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Next will be a certificate of recognition.
Oh, yeah, that's the same.
Folks, who's the president, okay? I've just gone a month, okay? So I've still got my style, my swag, and my abilities here. Thanks for your help, though. Next is a certificate of recognition regarding Power the Tower project. Councilmember Soria.
So next, I also want to give recognition to Katie Altobello. And I can't say the other last name. But again, these wonderful young women have been part of my office during this summer, doing some great work. And so I want to recognize Katie. She was a fellow with us this summer. She was sponsored by Environmental Defense Fund to come and work on a project that it's called Power the Tower. And so she's been very invaluable over the last few months in working and getting this project off the ground, making sure that we connect with the business owners in the tower, with the staff here at City Hall that continue to do the hard work to address some of the issues that we want to do with Power the Tower. She is a graduate of Columbia University. She just graduated this last spring, so very proud of her for the work that she's doing, originally from San Diego. So she'll be leaving us next week, but we do want to thank her for all the work, for bearing with the hot weather, because being from San Diego, I'm sure this 100 plus degree weather was a little tough. But we do want to thank her again for all the work that you've done over the last few months, and as you wrap up this project so that it continue to move forward and be successful. So, we just want to give you appreciation for all the work that you did, and also present you with the certificate of recognition on behalf of the City of Fresno. It has been a pleasure to honor your commitment to the city, Fresno District 1, and recognize your dedication to the Power the Tower project, which has paved the way for small business in the Tower District to participate in clean energy efforts. And so we will continue, and that's our commitment, to continue to see this project move forward, which Katie has been very instrumental with. So again, Katie, thank you for everything that you've done, and we wish you much success in your future endeavors. So here you go. And then I just want to give them a minute or so to say, anything that you guys want to share about your experience.
I just want to say thank you, Esmeralda, for this opportunity. Being here at City Hall has been a great experience, and I look forward to keeping in touch. Thank you.
I'd like to reiterate that and just say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and thank you very much for applying through Environmental Defense Fund to help the city with some really cool, innovative community scale projects to help the area in terms of energy efficiency, renewable energy, and clean energy. And I think there's a lot to be done here, and it's a very exciting place to be. Thank you.
Thank you. So again, thank you, ladies, for everything.
Thank you very much. Next, we will now go to recognition of community sponsors for the 2016 West Fresno Family Resource Center Summer Enrichment Program. Wow. And the 2016 Back to School Health Fair supporters. Councilmember Baines.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's a mouthful because they do a lot. Janice, can you come on down for a minute and everyone with us? So listen, I get the great honor today of presenting some certificates and talking a little bit about all the work that the West not all the work, but a couple of the programs the West Fresno Family Resource Center does, and we in the city just can't be grateful enough for what you all do in our community. So we know we have the summer enrichment program, and I'm going to cue it up, and then I'm going to let you all really talk about how good it is. But I know you have the summer youth enrichment program. I think we have something like 74 young people participate. They do the science camp and zoo camp, and they go for several weeks. But more importantly, we get them involved. And the enrichment is the right word because you all are giving them experiences that enrich their lives. And we couldn't be more grateful about that. And then we also gave out probably, 1,200 backpacks this year? No, 2,000 backpacks. 750? Okay, 750 backpacks this year. We served, hundreds of families in West Fresno. We've been doing that for 14 years, where you make sure that you give out backpacks to our most needy families in West Fresno. So just the work that you all do, we're very, very grateful for. So I know Yolanda's not here, but Janice, I want you to talk a little bit about those programs.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. My name is Janice Mathurin, and I'm the Director of Operations with West Fresno Family Resource Center. And I have a team of staff that's here with me as well. We do remarkable work in the community with a small staff and a small team, and we're grateful for the volunteers and the contribution from many who are also committed to a healthy community. As you're aware, Southwest Fresno, although it has assets, we have many challenges in the community. And so this is the third year that we have sponsored a summer enrichment program where we serve more than 70, as council member indicated, 70 kids from age ranging 5 to 12. A program provides an opportunity to reduce summer learning loss. As those of you who are parents or not, the kids, they have 2 months from school. And so we provide them an opportunity for them to continue learning. And we've done this through a partnership with the zoo, the Chappie Zoo, and there's actually a team here as well. We've also partnered with Brentag Chemical that actually puts on our Zoo to You, giving kids an opportunity to learn science in our experimental hands-on activities. We've actually provided nutrition education. They've participated in cooking classes and a whole range of activities. We prepared a short video for you, and so you'll get a little taste of some of their activities that the kids have been involved with. And we also we've also hosted our backpack. It's a school readiness event, and the event actually provides an opportunity for us to work in partnership with, sponsors like Councilmember Baines, Brian Pacheco, PG&E, the California Endowment. I know I'm going to miss. Okay, and so we've actually provided an opportunity for us to showcase those that have contributed to helping our community kids. And so we want to say thank you. Thank you for the team effort. Thank you for the staff. Thank you. And I know Jean has her team here. She would like to do a brief introduction. The docent, we had how many docents participating on the...
Please, come up.
Yes.
Yeah, no, sit there.
Yes. Part of my impetus for thinking about this was that as the Measure Z was passed, it is an obligation to, as a receiver of public funds, that we give back to the community who may not have an opportunity to take advantage of the zoo. And so we were just thrilled to death to partner up with West Fresno, West Fresno Family Health, and they were the best support team ever. But this is a team that all got together, and they put their heads together, and we created a summer camp at the site. And then on Friday, we took, thanks to Fresno Unified, a bus load of kids to the zoo. They had a full day, including their parents. We invited their parents to come and share in that experience. And the zoo opened the doors, the park opened their doors, and then they were all given lunch to boot. So I'd like this team to stand up, please. And if my old age will remember, this is Sharon Timmons and Karen Westerson, and Dorothy Fortune and Chuck McGow, Charlie Hensley, Karen Goss, and Dave Goss. And they were just part of a hardworking team. I just have to show you one of the activities. Thank you. So we can show off this shirt. They made T-shirts using handprints and created an animal out of that. And so I just have one little thing. I hope I haven't done this for you before, but a little book as the thank you. Yes.
Really? Cool. Thank you.
As a book to thank you for your support. For the zoo also. You've been a great supporter of the zoo. He has great taste, doesn't he? All right, thank you.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thanks again. We very much appreciate it. And so we have a 3-minute video we'd love to show, slideshow.
Oh, you know how to do it? Oh, okay, great.
It might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here, you can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. With the air, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here come bad news, talking this and that. Well, give me all you got and don't hold it back. Well, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, go. Bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. The love is too high, bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. I said, tell you now, bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. The love is too high, bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. The love is too high to bring me down, can't nothing bring me down. I said, clap along.
That was awesome. Well, Janice, come on up. I think we're gonna do a really neat thank you. So I'm gonna allow you to we have some certificates for our participants and sponsors. So I think I'll hand them to you, Janice, and you read the names.
Okay, sure. Absolutely.
Then we'll ask you all to stand up here.
AT&T Pioneers. Anyone from AT&T Pioneers? Okay. Yep. And I must say, AT&T, they've been sponsors and volunteers for programs for more than 11 years. And so they usually bring a team of more than 12. And they also provide financial contributions. So we're very grateful. The California Endowment was also a sponsor. I don't think anyone's here. Caltronics. These are busy people. They love giving and don't necessarily want recognition. The Community Food Bank. Okay, anyone here? Okay. Come on down. City of Fresno Park and Rec.
Well, Manuel's here. I know.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mandelato. Thank you. Okay. Hall Management. I know one's not here from Hall Management. Okay. People's Church is also a big contributor. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. Oops, I think this one's upside down. Oh. St. John Baptist Association, Central Valley Brotherhood. Nope. Okay. Yeah. Sacred Heart Catholic Church. Pat, you want to come on behalf of Sacred Heart? Thank you, Pat. El Conchino Contemporary Mexican Restaurant. They've also contributed. They contributed food. And Sherry Brown. Okay, you'll take that one. Okay. 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 Well, thank you. Thanks so much. And then we will also be providing each of their sponsors with the posters. We've actually asked our children and families to sign. As you'll notice, you'll see scribbles, and we had even from 3-year-olds, able to sign their names to, family, grandparents, and so forth, showing our appreciation and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Baines. And looking at all the credits at the end of the video, it's great to see so many partnerships being formed and established and carried forward in our community to benefit the children, and especially the zoo. I love the zoo. I was out there recently in the safari. It's fantastic. If you close your eyes and open them, you think you're in Africa. So thank you all for being such great partners and making our city all the better for all our citizens. So thank you very much. Okay, next we're going to go to the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda? Thanks again, folks.
I have a few changes on the agenda. On item 1C, file 16880, there's a clerical error on Exhibit 2 attached to the First Amendment to the salary resolution. The correct salary range for the investment officer should be 7,984 to 11,235. That's all the changes I have.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I have a change.
Oh, thank you. Sorry, I didn't see you.
City Attorney, can I make a continuance now on the agenda?
Yes, you can.
Okay, this is the 210 item. There's a number on it. It's 210, timed item. Yeah, 16-916. I'd like to continue that to the September 22nd at 5 p.m. I have a number of residents I've met with that we need more time to meet with them and the developers, and they wanted a time where it'd be more convenient for them to attend the council meeting. I think I got the right. Is the 22nd a council date? Have I got the right date? September 22nd? Okay, so do we need a motion or a vote or just acclamation?
No, at this point, you just say you want to do it. Unless the council votes to not do that, then you're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other changes to the calendar? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Member Soria, second by Member Brand. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0 with Member Olivier absent. Are there any changes to the minutes of July 28th, 2016? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve those minutes? I'll make that motion. Member Quintero seconds the motion. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0 with Member Olivier absent. Next is council member reports and comments. Member Soria.
I have a couple reports and comments to add. So just want to thank everyone who made National Night Out possible at Inspiration Park, our Parks Department, the Fresno Police Officers Association, the Fresno PD as well. We had a number of officers come out and support. FPOA did help us sponsor the event, and they cooked. We provided hamburgers for a few hundred kids and parents that were out there. So it was really nice to be out at Inspiration Park and bring the community together right before school started. So it was a very successful event. I want to thank my staff for also putting in the hard work to make this happen out there. And it was our first annual National Night Out out west of the 99 at Inspiration Park. So thank you again. I also want to just mention that we had our community coffee on August 3rd. It was a successful event. We had about 20 to 25 residents show up at Chicken Pie Shop where they brought a number of their concerns. We do intakes of constituent work, appreciate the folks in the community that are engaged. Again, just reiterating my commitment from my office to be present in the community. I know many of the residents can't come here to City Hall, and so what I've told them since the beginning, that if City Hall can't, that if you can't go to City Hall will come to you, and so that's my continued commitment through these morning coffees and also the evening community meetings. So appreciate folks for being engaged and bringing us the issues that are present in their neighborhood so that we do improve quality of life throughout District 1. I then also want to thank our Parks Department again. August 11th, we had a movie at Quigley Park, Movie in the Park. We had a number of young kids and families join us to watch a great movie. But again, I was there actually for a couple hours, and it just reminded me of the need of really patrolling our parks, because we did actually have not a major incident, but there were some safety concerns. And so it just, again, highlighted for me the importance of making sure that our parks are safe and really advocating to having enough police officers and patrol officers out in these spaces that are supposed to be safe for our children, safe for our families, so that they actually can enjoy going to the movie at the park, having popcorn without fearing that someone that is just a transient, that is looking for trouble will cause some harm. So again, I'm just making sure that I wanted to highlight that, because I personally experienced it. We had to call FPD, and so we're grateful that FPD was able to show up fairly quickly to address some of the issues that we had. But again, highlights the importance of having patrol in our community, patrolling our parks, which should be a safe place for all families. But again, I want to thank the Parks Department for everything that they're doing to keep our kids busy and engaged and providing some critical services for our community. And then just lastly, I had a couple actually questions for our city manager. One about the Parks Master Plan. I know that I've sent some requests in terms of time frame. I wanted to get some more information in terms of timeline for community outreach. I know that when we approved the Parks Master Plan, my commitment to my District 1 residents was that we would have a meeting in the district. So I wanted to make sure that our office was in the loop and that we had enough time so that my office, we actually go out and canvass the neighborhood, because we like to make sure that people know what is going on and be active. And so I just wanted to be able to have some information so that in my next community meeting, I'm able to share that and disseminate that information. So if I can get maybe a time frame, and then if you guys could work with our office to make sure that we find the best location in District 1 where we would have maximize the community engagement piece.
Sure, and we did distribute last night a memo to all the council with the general information, but we'll get more specifics to you.
Okay, perfect. I haven't seen that, but I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then the other thing that I just wanted to bring up, and I know that our office has been in communication about the alley issue that I brought up during the budget, and I know Bruce made a commitment to making sure that within our utilities department, we would have a point person to kind of handle the closed alleys. And so my intern, Jasmine, who I recognized earlier, worked very hard this summer to compile all the information. So we want to move forward and set up a meeting to see how that transition is going to happen with our Department of Public Utilities.
Okay, we'll coordinate that with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Member Quintero.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just have a couple of items. City Manager, would we be able to have code enforcement maybe send a letter to both PG&E and AT&T asking or seeing if they can somehow come up with a way to start taking down a lot of the "I'll buy your home for free" and all these kind of signs that are put up on their poles, especially in the older areas of the city where we have the telephone poles and PG&E poles that are up. If somehow we could contact them, because all they do is they say we'll buy your home, and then they have a telephone number on them. But it just seems like we just got recently a whole new wave of signage up on these older neighborhoods, and it's really creating a mess because now there's like 2 or 3 signs to a post in some areas. So if they could somehow contact them and see if something can be done, really appreciate
Sure.
it.
Yeah, no, PG&E we meet with regularly, and
Okay.
so that shouldn't be an issue at all, and we can certainly reach out to AT&T as well.
Great, thank you. Also wanted to publicly thank Councilmember Brandow for bringing to the attention of the Caltrans folks the blight on our freeways 41 and 180 as far as cleanup and the fires that were created, and really appreciate it because we're starting to see a big change in the cleanup as well as the crews being out there. And you mentioned to me just a little while ago that they're out there again just doing the job. So, and you're right, there's other parts of the state that you travel to and you don't see that. So really appreciate it. It's really helpful. And then also, City Clerk, we have a presentation today at 2:05, and that's from Planning and Development on the noticing and adjustment procedures for the 2035 General Plan. And then speaking with Mr. Zach and Ms. Clark, you were going to, today was just going to be an update on where you're at and status and that type of thing. And then you were going to come back on the 24th, I believe, to give us kind of the final or where you were at with that. I'd like to change that date to September the 1st and make that a timed item. And City Clerk, I'll get with you later on the timed item. Today's presentation, I'd like that to go on as scheduled, but for the follow-up one that we're going to have is I'd like a little bit more time. And the reason for that, too, I still have concerns after meeting with you, Mr. Zach, and probably even more so after I met with you on some of the properties in District 5 that I need clarification on and the property owners need clarification on. And I think it's just going to, for other council members in other districts, they probably have got some concerns as well. But I want to change that, and then I've got a couple comments to make on the update when you present that today at 2 o'clock. But I'd like to change it to September the 1st. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Member Brandow.
Thank you, Council President. Good to have you back from Montana. Hey, Councilmember Quintero, thank you for bringing that up about the weeds. I wasn't going to mention it today, but now that you talked about it, I'd like to thank Gene Higginson from Channel 30, Tim from the Fresno Bee. They've both helped cover this issue, and it's really about all of us as one voice in our community, making sure that we're not underserved. And I'm certainly going to make sure that Fresno's not underserved and Fresno County is underserved when it comes to our roadways. So. But I did want to bring up that on August the 8th in my district, we had the grand opening of Hobby Lobby on Blackstone Avenue. So for those of you that have really tried to help out Blackstone Avenue, Keith, see you in the audience today. We had a grand opening of Hobby Lobby, and it was fantastic. We did the ribbon cutting in the morning, and I was excited. I took my mom back for lunch, and the store is fantastic. And just like Deputy City Clerk Renee Smith opened up our meeting this afternoon in prayer, they opened their grand opening in prayer. I thought it was very unique. It's great to have all those jobs and Hobby Lobby in Fresno. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Member Brandau. The screen is clear, so I wanted to thank my colleagues for accommodating me while I was on vacation. I really appreciate it. I knew we were in relatively good hands, but I sincerely want to thank everyone for helping me out. Next, I wanted to thank all those that were involved with National Night Out on August 2nd in El Dorado Park. A very successful event, and all those that participated were the Associated Students, Inc. at Fresno State itself, Fresno State Police Department, Fresno Police Department, Fresno Fire, and especially the residents and volunteers who really showed up and really made it a great event. The kids always look forward to that event, and the biggest hit was the Fresno State actually has a motorcycle officer now, and his motorcycle and the fire truck, the kids loved it and were all over it, so I want to thank everybody. Yesterday was a very busy day for me, but I had an opportunity to meet with the Fresno State ASI executive team, and that also comprised the newly elected officials there, the president and vice president, and I was encouraged to see the hard work and the commitment they're making, not only to the university but to our city, and I'm looking forward to working with these brilliant minds, and I really believe some of them will be sitting at this dais in a relatively short period, so it's really encouraging. Next, the Fresno Police Department and administration, thank you guys for putting on such a great training event regarding active shooter, something that we really don't want to talk about or hopefully never happens in our community, but due to the circumstances of the times, we really need to be prepared. And so my office, along with the city management team and the mayor and everyone here, we were able to give that education out to all our valuable employees and citizens in this building. A special thanks to Deputy Chief Farmer, Lieutenant Joe Alvarez, Sergeant Marty True, and Sergeant Curtis Chastain. And I look forward to bringing more of that type of training to our facility here and for the benefit of our people that represent and support the citizens. And someday, eventually, I'd like to really bring that to businesses and schools, even residences in our community. So it's better to be prepared before it happens than to react after it happens. So we're going to keep that going and make our community safer than ever. So thank you very much. Assistant City Manager Smith.
I just want to make one point on the meeting for August 25th regarding the rezone that you would like to have moved to September 1st. It's already been noticed to the public at 5 o'clock, so we'll want to make sure that we officially continue the meeting since it's already been publicly noticed.
So the first is not doable then, since we're going to have it on the
We can. We just need to officially say that we're continuing the meeting.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Before we go much farther on our agenda, I'm trying to keep it in a timely fashion, although it's a little late, but we have a 2:15 scheduled communication appearance by Ralph Hatland to discuss the City of Fresno Risk Management Division. So, Ralph, are you here? Good afternoon, sir. Please come forward and give us your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Thank you for being here.
Ralph Hatland. My address is 6715 North Carnegie Avenue, Fresno, 93722. I'll be brief. It'll be under 3 minutes. I have 9 copies of what I'm going to talk about along with the picture. Whether it's proper or not, this is my first time in this chamber, so I apologize if anything.
Don't worry about it. We're happy to have you here.
Thank you. The purpose of my presence today is to describe to you my experience, the culture, the behavior that I experienced with the risk management, and I purposely kept all names out of it. Early in December, my car struck a downed stop sign, and it was down before I struck it, and I have pictures of what the stub looked like, and the damage to my car is consistent with that stub. I asked Risk Management. They were very kind of what I needed to do. I submitted the claim and everything that they needed, and then a few months later, I got a rejection with no explanation. Kind of puzzled about that, just said, here are your legal rights, that's it. So I filed a small claims, and I was given a court date, and I showed up. And the city representative showed up. And at that time, there was not a sitting judge, there was just a sitting attorney. And I'm self-employed. I took time off from work. I went down there. Truthfully, I would have accepted whatever anybody said. And what happened was the city chose to exercise their right to hire a sitting judge. So a second hearing was scheduled. And that time, there was a judge. And we both sat down there and gave our stories, our case, and I received a favorable judgment. But that was not good enough for the Risk Management. About 4 weeks after that, I got an appeals notice in the mail that I'm going to Superior Court over this issue. This is the third time in court I'm showing up. And to this date, I still don't know the results of that third showing. You know, you take a look, and I know this is only public comments, but I know action items. I'm familiar with agenda stuff that maybe, an agenda item could be for an action item. I'm curious how much staff time, when you take a look at least 2 or 3 staff members, their hourly, their salary plus their benefits, and compare that to 3 times processing my claims and 3 times in court. And then you also have not an expense of the city, but you also have the judge's time and the court people, and it was a simple $893 bumper damage. And so if you look at the costs associated with that, and I put over 20 hours out of my work schedule, and I just wanted to share with this council my experience, and that's it. So thank you all for hearing me.
Yes, and thank you for being here, bringing it to our attention. It's citizens like you that come forward that we can only improve our system and make it better. So thanks for being here.
I thank you all.
Member Brandau.
Hey, Ralph, hang out here just for a second, please. So I just wanted to describe, and you did a great job, by the way, taking your 3 minutes. We love it when citizens come and tell us, and the fact that you left out names and all that's very cool. It's the opposite of what we see in a lot of times. So I do appreciate that. I'm really familiar. Ralph called me really within 48 hours of hitting this stub. Now, but he kind of glossed over it. Let me tell you, and I know exactly where this damaged sign is. It's on my way to GB3 Gym from my place, and I pass by it all the time. There's a stop sign that the city of Fresno puts out in the middle of a street intersection. You know, normally when you come up to an intersection, the stop sign's on the right, but this one is in the middle of the street, and it has it gets hit occasionally over the last couple of years. Oh, there's a picture of it. Okay, fantastic. All right, well, Ralph,
I try to be complete.
Oh, mine's right there. I didn't even thank you, Esmeralda. Mine's not there.
I have another one. I don't need my copy.
Okay, great. So there's a little stub here. This is not the first time this sign gets whacked. It's right out in the middle of a street. And so he hit this stub, and I knew about it within 48 hours. I want to thank you for that call. We all love it as council members when we hear from responsible. So he hit this. We kind of addressed it. So when you went to the court, through the court system, how much, when the judge found it in your favor, how much was that for in dollars?
It was $893 for the bumper and then $45 for the court fees.
Okay.
So I think it's $938 or something like that.
So what Ralph is talking about today is the city of Fresno engaging him 3 times for $893 or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
That's correct. Initially, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Ralph. Thanks for coming today.
Thank you all.
Thank you again, Ralph. And you as well, Councilmember Brandau. I'm sure that stub will be gone pretty soon.
Yeah, it's still there. It's a full sign again. But it'll be hit again. It's right in the middle of the street.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to our consent calendar. Would any council member like to pull any item for discussion from the consent calendar?
Oh, yes, Council President.
Member Brandow.
I'd like to pull items 1G, 1H, and 1N.
Okay, anyone else like to pull any item from the consent calendar? Seeing none, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on any item from the consent calendar? This is your opportunity to come forward. You'll have 3 minutes. All we ask is that you give us your name and your address. Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the balance of the consent calendar? Motion by Member Brandow, seconded by Member Brand. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0 with Member Olivier absent. Okay. Did you want to discuss those now, Member Brandow,
It's
or
up
did
to
you
you,
want to?
Council President. We can if you want to.
Well, let me go through the rest of the calendar, and then we'll come back
Okay.
to that. It's very brief. Next is the General Administration. General Administration 2A, rather, as an apple. Action pertaining to West Almy Street. Staff, for a presentation. Thank you.
Good afternoon, City Council. I'm Merrick Johnson of the Public Works Department. I have 2 items for your consideration today. These are actions pertaining to the West Almy Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. This is bid file 3471. Is located in Council District 3 and a small portion in Fresno County. Item 1 is to adopt a finding of categorical exemption per staff determination pursuant to Section 15301C, Class 1 of the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines for the West Almy Avenue Street Reconstruction Project. Item 2 is to award the construction contract with Dave Christian Construction of Fresno in the amount of $686,446 for the West Almy Avenue Street Reconstruction Project, and authorize the Public Works Director or designee to sign a contract on behalf of the city. The pavement along West Almy Avenue between Fig and Clara is in a state of disrepair. The proposed project will replace the existing deteriorated pavement, providing a smooth riding surface for vehicle traffic along West Almy. The overall project is funded by $1,016,491 in community development block grant funds and $53,500 in ABX8 gas tax funds. The project will not have any impact to the general fund. That concludes this presentation, and myself and others from Public Works can hopefully answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Great presentation. Thank you, sir. Would any member of the public like to speak on this issue? If you would, please come forward. Seeing none, back to the dais, and Member Soria. A motion to approve by Member Baines. Is there a second? Second by Member Soria. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0. Next is our 2 o'clock scheduled hearing. And that presentation is by Darm.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. Mackenzie Contreras with the Development and Resource Management Department. Staff has nothing to add to the staff report or presentation that was included in the packet. If you have questions or if you wish to hear the presentation, let me know and I can go ahead and do that.
Thank you very much. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this? Please come forward. Your name and address. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, members of the council. I'm Jeff Roberts, speaking on behalf of the property owner in Granville Homes. Our business address is 1396 West Herndon in the city of Fresno. We do concur with the recommendation of staff on both the plan amendment and the rezone, and the unanimous recommendation of the Planning Commission. And I could answer any questions, but thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else from the public wish to come forward? This is your opportunity. Seeing none, back to the dais. Is there a motion to approve?
Yes, there is, Councilman. Thank you, Council President. I'm going to make a couple comments. Happy to approve this item. It's been a work in progress. I want to thank Jeff Granville. I know you put a lot of time and effort on this, so I'm happy to make a motion to approve this. I think we're moving in the right direction for what the citizens of West Fresno desire.
Seconded by Member Brandow. Thank you very much.
Council President,
you punched up? Oh,
comments
we got
today.
a whole bunch here.
So I want to make clear, I'm actually asking for clarification here. Are we talking about a density reduction going on in District 3? Is that a reduction here?
I'm not District 3.
Okay. So it is a reduction, right?
If there's a problem, we'll take it in District 4.
That is correct. It's going from corridor center mixed use to lower density residential.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Further on in today's agenda, on the 210 item, I think which Councilmember Brand pulled was a density increase in District 6. So glad to make the motion to approve after, I just wanted to make sure that clarifying that it's a reduction in density.
I thought you were being dense in those comments, but I'm not going to say anything further. It's a friendly comment. You know that, Council Member. All right. We have a motion by Member Bain, seconded by Member Brandow. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Member Olivier absent. Okay, we're going to go to our 205 workshop on the 2035 General Plan. And this is sponsored by Member Quintero and Mr. Zach. The floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Council President, members of the Council. I'm Dan Zach with the Development and Resource Management Department, and we're here today to update you all on work we've been doing on cleanups and fine-tuning to the General Plan Land Use Map, the Zoning Map, and the Development Code text itself. Let's see here. There's the slides. Pardon me one moment. So I'm going to start out with just a little bit of background on refresher on how we ended up with the new zoning map, what went into it, and then from there, why we're doing this fine tuning and how we came to that and what it's going to accomplish. So the really goes back to the general plan, which was begun in 2010. And by 2012, in January, we had conceptual land use alternatives, A through D, that discussed various ways of laying out future growth in the city. Alternative A was ultimately selected in April, and so from that point, a new general plan land use map was built based off of that alternative. So where things weren't proposed to be changed by this alternative A concept, the past general plan land uses were just carried forward, and where this concept proposed change, for example, the transit corridor along Blackstone, then those parcels were reorganized to carry out that vision. And in August of that year, a draft land use map for the initiation of the EIR was put out and was approved to move forward by the council. Over the next 2 years, there was more work done to this, environmental review, more public involvement, and some final fine-tuning by the council and staff. And in December of 2014, the general plan and that land use map was adopted. A year later, in December of 2015, the new development code was adopted, the text for the development code, and that was our main adoption tool to make the vision of the general plan a reality. And in February of this year, a couple months later, we brought forward a new zoning map. And so what this was meant to do was to take all those general plan land uses that had been worked on for so many years and really get them implemented by zoning properties to match the vision brought forward in the general plan. And so essentially in the development code, there was one new zone district for every color on the general plan map, every planned land use that would bring that to fruition. And so it was actually very easy to create the new zoning map because it was really just a matter of translating that general plan map into the new zones on a one-to-one basis and move it forward. And so that's how we got to the zoning map in February. So one of the questions that was raised was, this is a big deal to adopt a new general plan and zoning map, and there was question about how much of the city was actually affected, how much of it was changed. And so during the general plan process, when the general plan map itself was being worked on, there was, if you might recall, this analysis that was done, this transparency map where things that weren't changing much were faded out, and the things where we were actually changing direction were bright so that you could kind of see where those changes were happening. And so we just did a similar analysis on the zoning map to see how that came out. So this is a map we prepared last week. It's broken up by council district, which kind of helps get your bearings on where everything's at. The bright purple parcels are parcels that changed from one category to another. So it was zoned commercial before, now it's zoned residential. It was zoned multifamily before, now it's single family. This represents 9% of the parcels in the city, and so the other 91% stayed within the same category, and so they weren't changed in any significant way. But that 9%, they were, and so a lot of that was very deliberate, based on strong general plan policies such as the transit corridor along Blackstone, and it was changed as a way to bring that to fruition. Back in February, when we notified the public of the upcoming zoning update, we did a full-color, fold-out, poster-sized brochure in the Fresno Bee about a month before the action, so that people had plenty of time to get up to speed on it. It included a large poster-sized map that had all of the colors explained as to what everything meant on the general plan, and then links to the website where you can go into more detail. Web page laid it all out, explained what we were doing, why, how it would work, how it might affect things. We put also a legal notice in the Fresno Bee on January 22nd, about 10 days ahead of the actual hearing as required by the ordinance. We posted any sites that were getting a general plan amendment at that same time on January 8th, and then posted a detailed map on the city's website on January 10th. And the website actually allowed you to compare your current zoning at the time with the proposed new zoning, so you could see exactly if you were changing much or not. And then if you were changing, the colors would shift as you slid a bar across. You could click on a site and then get more detail. What was your old zone? What would the new zone be? And then what are the height limits and the allowed uses and things like that to compare and contrast the two, so people could see what effects, if any, it would have on their zoning. So since February, we have been, first thing we did was, after some discussion at council in February, we put out a full-color brochure in Via Valle in Spanish, so that folks that read that publication were aware of what had happened. And it also had the fold-out poster of the new zoning map. And then also since then, we took direction from the council in February that for 180 days, we should allow people to come to us, and if they wanted to switch back to a zoning that was more similar to what they had before, we could analyze that. If it didn't clash with the environmental impact report or any important general plan policies, then we could bundle those up and bring them to you. And that's what we were proposing to do on August 25th. Now we'll do on September 1st. And that way those can be acted upon. This is a map. There are 43 sites that are proposed to be cleaned up, as we're calling it. Some of the sites are just one parcel. Some of them are several parcels. Site 2 is an entire neighborhood, for example. And so these sites range from, owner requested, going back to what was there before. Some are staff initiated. For example, there's several in the Tower District where we noticed that there were things that were out of alignment with the Tower District specific plan or conditions on the ground. So we wanted to make that match better. And then there were 18 where we're not proposing to change the general plan land use. General plan map got it right. But in February, there were digital glitches that caused the parcels not to get zoned to match the general plan. So we're cleaning those up. A lot of them have to do with 11 of the 18 are city fire stations, just getting that zoning designation right, just to make sure that the general plan map and the zoning map are 100% consistent, so we don't have any of those conflicts that have been a bit of an issue in the past. There's also a second part to the cleanup action that we're proposing. In addition to these map adjustments, we're also proposing some text adjustments. And so the development code has been on the books for about 7 months now. We've been approving projects, reviewing projects under it. It's working out, remarkably well considering the scope of the changes. However, when you do some changes like this, you expect to do some fine tuning. And so we thought, since we have the hood up on this thing, let's clean up some of the text things too. So certain things that need to be clarified or maybe internally inconsistent due to some of the final changes in December, we're cleaning those things up as well. And so that's the second part of the cleanup action that you'll be acting on or considering acting on September 1st. For this cleanup action, we put a Fresno B notice on August 5th. We mailed a brochure to property owners. It was a kind of a magazine-size brochure to property owners. We tried to put in this gray box at the top a plain and simple English explanation of what we were doing, because the legal notices can be a little bit hard to decipher for folks, as well as a map and a table that explained all the parcels and how they would be proposed to be changed. Sites that were vacant, we actually posted on the site so people knew what was being considered, and then we put a Spanish language notice in Vida en el Valle on August 10th as well. So that concludes my presentation on the basics of how we got to this point, what we're proposing to do. Happy to take any questions and go into any additional detail if you'd like. What we're proposing is that we bring this for adoption at an upcoming meeting now, September 1st, it looks like. And then we'd also like to suggest another 180 days of allowing folks to suggest going back to something that more closely matches their own old zoning. Since we bundled these all up and noticed everybody, we've already had 4 people say, hey, I'd like to be a part of this. Very reasonable requests that we think we can support, and that we think you'd be willing to consider too. And so, if the council's amenable to it, another 6 months might be a really good policy to make sure that this new zoning map is just right moving forward. And that's it.
Oh, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Does any of the comments from our dais here? My screen is clear. Kind of shocked. There we go. Member Soria.
I just wanted to concur with some of the comments in terms of I think it'd be good policy to provide some extension, because we know that not everyone, may have seen the notice, and I think it's important that we do give some folks the opportunity to come back and talk to us and see if it's something that is reasonable and that we could support. So I'd agree with an additional extension. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Quintero.
Thank you. Mr. Zach, as I mentioned earlier, I've got some concerns, and one of the things that I mentioned early on, and you'd agreed to give me a list of the properties that were going to get changed over in District 5, so I'm still waiting. I don't know how many properties have been changed over, but there's got to be concern there, and I don't know if some of those folks still know if they're aware of the changes. The other part after, and thank you for meeting with me, by the way, is that there was 3 properties that I went over that we talked about when we met. One of them had already been taken care of, and thank you for that one. That was the Pillabos property. The other 2 properties, I know there's still some concerns on. One of them is the Masaki property, and it's I know they want to do single family housing, and I support that, but when they come in and find out that they've been changed over to multiple family, and I don't really feel it's compatible with what's existing there already, and it's going to create extra pressure not only on the neighbors but on the school district as well. And that's got to be a real big concern with our office. The other one is at northeast corner of Jensen and Fowler Avenues, and I did have a short discussion with Ms. Clark by telephone, and what my understanding is that there's 20 acres there on the northeast corner of Jensen and Fowler, and they requested a planned cleanup, and were told they couldn't because the property's in the county. But yet, I understand that the city's cleaning up a planned designation on county property now on Clinton between Marks and Valentine. So I'm a little bit befuddled about that. Why can't the same thing be done at Fowler and Jensen? And what I'd like with that is just to have a meeting with you again before we come back on September the 1st, or the 180 days that you're talking about. I'd like to get some clarification on that, and I'd like to have that meeting with you and the staff, the property owners, and with myself, and have a discussion on that. Maybe I'm not real clear on the process or whatever, but it just seems like, you're doing it over here, and it seems like it's the same thing that the request is on our part, and it just didn't make much sense to me. So the sooner I can meet with you, the better. I'd really appreciate that, and that's really got to be a concern because of the amount of development that's going on in District 5 with a lot of the projects going on there, and it's important that we try to make it as compatible and also with the existing neighborhoods are around there. I know Jensen and Fowler isn't really built out yet, but they're getting quite a bit of interest with what they want to do there. So I'd really appreciate it if we get together as soon as possible and meet on those two properties.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll contact your office and we'll get it set up ASAP.
Call me directly, please.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And so, yeah, we're happy to do that. And one of the three properties that you mentioned, the multifamily one with the tract map, if I remember correctly, we think that's a great candidate for the next round of cleanups. If we come back with some more, it seems to fit the criteria. So, yeah.
Well, if you can email me some clarification on what your thoughts are for that part of the cleanup.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we'll get together soon.
It'd be informative for me. So
great.
Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Member Quintero. Next is Member Brandow.
Thank you, Council President, and thank you, Vice President Quintero, for bringing forth this workshop and sponsoring the workshop. Because I have different things going on in my district, really similar to the ones that you described. Amazingly, Dan, and by the way, I think you've done yeoman's work getting out the word, okay? Unfortunately, and I think every council member can testify, that people just miss it. Even if you go out 3 times, you put it in Spanish, English, Fresno B, radio, they still miss it. So I still get people coming in and saying, oh my gosh, and surprised out of nowhere. So I would like to see if I've got the information correct. So on September 1st, we're going to have a cleanup of some of these properties that people have come in and said, hey, I want to change this back, or this is not what I want. Maybe they worked with their council member. Maybe they worked directly with you. There's a cleanup coming up for council on September 1st?
Correct.
And then you want to give another 180 days after that for yet another cleanup opportunity, right?
Yeah, that's what we're proposing, correct.
Six more months for people. Fantastic. Okay. So really my only concern is representing people with property. They've been given multiple opportunities to come and sit down and make suggestions as to why it shouldn't be changed or should be changed to something else, right? And that's going to continue for people. They'll still have opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, some folks contacted me directly. Some came through council members. Some weren't even aware but asked questions at the planning counter. And were made aware at that point, hey, here's what happened, and if you want to be part of this cleanup, and they set them up with me, and then we work it out, and that's how some of the folks ended up in this this version that we want to bring to you on September 1st to approve.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate the cleanup on September 1st, and I appreciate that you guys are willing to go another 6 months for additional cleanups, because when you overhaul the general plan, just very rarely, every 25 years or whatever, it takes a lot of people by surprise that don't pay as much attention to politics and city government as we do. So I'm so glad that the city of Fresno is staying flexible for these folks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Brandow. Dan, I have a couple of questions. One, I'm glad you brought that map up. In District 4, Site 2, I had calls, and I think you had calls. Could you explain how that worked out for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is a neighborhood called University Portals near Fresno State, and it had been zoned for lots of 9,000 square feet or larger for many years. Going back for a long time, though, the general plan map never matched that. The general plan map showed it as a little denser, as equivalent to R1 or what we would now call R4, about 5,000 square foot lots. So that was one of the cases where we had this general plan and zoning mismatch. So when and that mismatch carried forward into the new general plan map, because that wasn't an area like Blackstone where we were focused on big change. So what was in the 02 general plan carried forward into this general plan. And then when we adopted the zoning map in February to make the general plan and zoning consistent, these folks now got, even though they had the same general plan designation as they'd always had, they now had new zoning. And so a few folks that lived in that neighborhood had been plugged into the process and paying attention, and brought it to our attention that, hey, our lots are all about 9,000 or 10,000 square feet, and we don't think this makes a whole lot of sense. And so they were actually at the February 4th hearing when the action was taken to adopt the map. We talked afterwards. They were a prime candidate for what you all had just laid out, and so they were the first in the queue on this. And so, what they suggested and what made perfect sense to us was to redo that whole neighborhood to a general plan designation and a zone that matched the lot sizes that are presently in that neighborhood. And so we were happy to do that. It made a lot of sense, and they're part of this bundle here. They're item number 2.
Exactly, and I appreciate that because the people in the Portals area are very pleased and happy that they're able to talk with you and work with you and then reach a result that's very satisfactory to them. And we really appreciate that. Thank you. And you mentioned I would support another cleanup round in 6 months, but is there a possibility, or shouldn't we maybe continue that? Because as people become more aware of the rezoning and the approach we're using now, it may come to their attention that their property is not quite what they thought it was. So if at the end of 6 months, then more people come forward, how would you suggest we handle that?
I think that really warrants a good discussion. We in this first 6 month period, there were only 15 of these property owner initiated requests. The rest come from us just fine tuning things and fixing things that were minor glitches. But it all depends on the will of the council, and we're happy to have that discussion. Though, if it seems at the end of the next 6 month period that it makes sense, then I think that's a good conversation to have. One of the things that the council mentioned in February and that we concur with is that there's a desire not to have it be just, hey, free rezonings for everybody, right? This is the idea, as we understood it, was, hey, if you were changed significantly and it wasn't because of a big general plan policy, then let's look at those. Now, if somebody wants to say they were zoned for residential in the past, they're zoned residential now, but they've got an idea for this really cool commercial project, well, we have a regular rezoning process for those kinds of changes, and that doesn't really fit into the cleanup. So it's just a matter of keeping those boundaries clear, I think. But I think in another 6 months, if you want to have that conversation, that would be great.
Sounds like there's a lot of flexibility with this, and that we're putting our best foot forward to implement what's best, not only for our city, but more importantly for our citizens and property owners. Thank you.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
You bet.
Any other questions from the members? Seeing none. Thank you very much for the workshop. And as a workshop, it's not really subject to public comment. So thanks again. We appreciate your
My
time
pleasure.
and energy. Thanks
See
for
you on
meeting
the
with
first.
me. Next, we're going to go to unscheduled communication. And on this topic, first card is Linda and Wayne Manier. That's your opportunity to come forward and speak. Linda and Wayne, are you here? Next up is a card from Jeff Roberts. Jeff, did you want to make a comment on unscheduled? No? Okay, thank you. Next is Mike Lopez regarding roll-off bins. Mr. Lopez, if you're here, please come forward. Okay, I don't know. I think it was pulled. Okay, all right. I'll hold on to that then. And thank you. And the last card here is Carlos Reyes. Mr. Reyes, are you here for comments on unscheduled communication? Okay, those are the cards. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to come forward and make any comments under unscheduled communication? Okay, seeing none, we'll go back to our contested consent items. The first one raised by member Brandow, item 1G, a resolution regarding sponsored by Public Utilities. Did you?
Yeah, and Council President, here were some of my concerns. This really dovetails with the whole issue of trash on our highways, which I've been addressing and others have been addressing. So there's a lot of concern in the public that a lot of the trash, the weeds are a different problem, but the trash is coming from City of Fresno contracted trash removal trucks, right, of different sorts. So I just wanted to, now that we're actually dealing with one, I just wanted a clarification that in this contract that all of that has been well thought out.
Yes, it has, sir. There's actually language in the contracts that describes how the loads have to be hauled, how they have to be covered. With the non-exclusive roll-off franchises, as well as our two commercial franchises and the city's haulers as well, our own personal trucks that haul, we spell that out very directly, that loads are to be covered, materials are to be handled in a certain way. The fact that we have the non-exclusive roll-off franchises and the other franchises allows us to actually have some say in how they haul that material. There are haulers out there that we don't control because they cut through town going to other places, and some that are actively working without a permit, but this is the process for us to get them on the permit so that we can get those under control as well.
So roll-offs are the big bins that get set somewhere for a cleanup project or something, and then they get picked up, and so do you tarp them or?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Some trucks have auto tarpers, which are a device that tarps them, and then others do it old school, where they get up on the truck and you cover it and strap it down. Yes, sir.
Okay.
But it's a requirement of our contract with them that they do that, as well as it's a requirement of the CHP that they cover their loads as well. So we have a kind of a double whammy there. We can cover it through our contract as well as CHP covers it when they're on our non-exclusive roll-off franchises.
Okay. And then I need to hear from you at some other point, because I don't want to connect it to this group, but I want to talk to you about roll-off companies that haul roll-off. They're not contracted through the City of Fresno. So those individuals and those independents out there, how to get a grip on them, and if we can force them to make sure their roll-offs are tarped.
There are some concepts there that kind of bleed over into CHP's responsibility to regulate them, as far as if they're just traveling through town. Now, if they're doing services in town, our other haulers are really good about reporting them to me and letting us know. We have a hauler over here who doesn't belong there. They're not on the non-exclusive roll-off franchise list. Currently, we have 22 haulers on the list, and those 22 haulers are very good about saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't know this guy. He doesn't belong here. And so they send me their information, and there are cases where I've been able to send notices to the contract company, letting them know they're illegally operating in the City of Fresno, and because of that, we've allowed them to then become a non-exclusive roll-off franchise, because once they're noticed, they can either do one of two things: cease and desist in town, or they can become a non-exclusive roll-off franchise. And so they go through all of the vetting and all of the things that we have to do. Or in the worst case scenarios, and I've had to do this before, I've actually come and pick up their container. And I take their container to my yard until they come and meet me and we have a discussion. I get one of those, and then we start talking citations.
Well, we're at the point where we need that approach, so thank you for being strong on that, because, you know, as we're engaging the public, an example is I had an email today about I followed 2 garbage trucks. Now, I have to take the citizen's word, right? I don't know if it's true, but I followed 2 garbage trucks, and a piece of trash flew out about every 30 feet. And, you know, if you multiply that over many dozens of times a day, it's a lot of trash. And I'm not saying it's true, but you and I are going to have a meeting. I know that we have one scheduled.
26th.
Yeah, what's that?
The 26th. It's a
Yes.
Friday morning at 6 a.m.
Yes, it is, at 6
Yes, sir.
a.m. I'm going to be there with you, and we're going to talk with our trash haulers. We're going to let them know what our expectations are. So,
Absolutely.
all right.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jerry. And so I'm going to make a motion to approve this item.
I have a motion. Is there a second? Second by Member Brand. All those in favor? Thank you, Jerry.
Oh, we have it.
Okay. Public comment. Thank you. Mr. and Mrs. Manier, would you like to come forward and address this? Now's your opportunity. Give us your name and your address. Take a deep breath, relax, and
Mike Lopez, Red Bend Services, 32752 Fraser Road, Auberry, California. Just any questions, I'm here to answer them. On the trash, I've noticed that it's anybody with their name on the door or their band, their loads are tarped. It's other ones I see, that don't have them, that they come in with some flimsy little tarp or something. That's what I've noticed on that.
That
And
makes
anybody
sense.
with their name on their truck, their loads are tarped.
Cool.
So.
And you're going to, inside of this contract, you're going to guarantee us that your company will tarp their loads.
Oh yeah, it's just me. I'm the owner operator, and it's just being lazy if you don't. To me, it's just being lazy if you don't tarp your load. So yes, my loads are tarped.
Well, thank you. That's all I needed to hear. Thank you.
Okay, great.
thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Do we have a motion and a second? All those in favor? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 6-0. Member Olivier absent. Let's go to item 1H, another presentation by Darm. Good afternoon, Director.
Good afternoon, Jennifer Clark, Development and Resource Management. I am here primarily to answer questions, but to give you just a little bit of information about a grant opportunity that we have to do some design work along Blackstone Avenue. It's about a 3-mile segment on Blackstone between Dakota and Divisadero. This is an area that's heavily traveled. There's approximately 21,000 to 26,000 vehicle trips per day along this segment, and it includes some key destinations in the city of Fresno. We have the Manchester Shopping Center and Transit Station. We have Fresno City College with approximately 24,000 students, and the Susan B. Anthony Elementary School. We also have a lot of proposals along this corridor for a lot more investment, and we think laying the foundation and providing preliminary design work, planning design, street segments, evaluation of our intersections to improve mobility for not just motorists, but those that are riding their bicycle to City College or who are walking to Manchester Center to shop, that we have the opportunity to improve that mobility. So we are partnering with Fresno Metro Ministries to do our outreach, our Better Blackstone partners in the community to try to improve the design along Blackstone, and then to hopefully get some grants to pay for that. Again, making it easier for people to invest along our prime spine. So I'm happy to answer any questions. Or we also have some partners in the audience that might answer questions as well.
Jennifer, and you could probably know who best to answer. So how does the process, who's getting the grant?
So the City of Fresno is applicant for the grant. We are the primary recipient of the grant. Then we will administer the grant, and we will partner with Fresno Metro Ministries as well as the local government commission to do our outreach to our businesses and to our property owners along Blackstone, our stakeholders along Blackstone. And then we will be seeking a consultant. We'll do an RFP for a consultant to actually do the planning and the design work. So we're simply the administrators of the grant.
So you mentioned the local government commission, so that's also in item 1N with dealing with another grant, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, are these two items connected or related?
No.
They're not. Okay, just so we get the money, we work with Fresno Metro Ministries and local government commission, and then they hire, who does the work?
We will hire a consultant whose primary focus will be the engineering and design work. And it's not it's not actually engineering drawings to go construct, but it's at the planning level. However, we would like for them to assess existing physical conditions, to develop and evaluate design alternatives. What's the best way to get all of these modes of transportation up and down our corridor, and to produce a final plan document. So we're looking for a consultant with expertise in transportation planning, traffic engineering, designing for transit, pedestrian, cyclist, urban design, public infrastructure, and private development finance. So there are some specific things that Caltrans will require as part of their of this particular grant. We are required to follow their smart mobility framework, which makes sure that all of those modes of transportation can operate in the same area.
And how much is the grant, Jennifer?
The grant is $279,635.
And was any of this stuff, this is in addition to the bus rapid transit work that we're doing on Blackstone, right? So none of this was covered.
It will enhance it. Absolutely. It'll help people get to and from bus stops. It'll help businesses be able to access not just the drivers up and down the road, but pedestrians, bicyclists, transit riders who are using the corridor.
Okay. And then is there a lot of staff time inside of our current staff to do this work, or is most of it the consultant that we hire?
Most of it will be the consultant, and then our partners who will be doing the community engagement.
And our partners in the community engagement, are they paid through this grant, or are they paid apart from this grant?
They are paid through the grant. So a portion of the grant will be paid to our local partners for the purpose of actually doing the engagement, community engagement and outreach to the property owners and businesses, and then we'll also be paying a consultant. So really our time is the administration of the grant, and that will be done in-house through our department with no additional staff.
All right, cool. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yep.
Thank you, Council President.
Member Soria.
Thank you, Council President, and I want to thank Steve also for pulling this item, because this is an item that I was also considering to pull, and he asked some questions that I was also going to ask. But in addition to those questions, the other couple questions that I had are related to that public outreach. Just wanting to know your time frame, how and where, how are we doing this public outreach? Do we already have kind of a sense of that, I imagine?
I would really like for the expert in the public outreach realm to answer that question for you. So if you don't mind.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Council. It's good to see y'all. Keith Bergthold, Fresno Metro Ministry. We now have really 4 outreach people, 2 with Hmong language skills and 2 with Spanish language skills. We're leveraging the bit that you'll give us for this with 4 other grants we're working along Blackstone on. There's a lot of outreach that will take place to prepare residents to participate in Design Charrette, so they actually can benefit and contribute to that Design Charrette. And so we spend a lot of time in the neighborhoods around these nodes, around Manchester, around City College, and around the Olive Gateway to the Tower District, and trying to get them ready to really give input on what would work for them in terms of the multiple modes, the sidewalks, the bus, the biking, and those kinds of things.
Great. I'm excited to hear that you guys have plenty of staff to do some of the outreach. The only thing that I will include as part of, I guess, the outreach, if you guys can actually keep our council offices appraised. My council district is I guess, but part of where this mobility or smart mobility project is happening. And I will be very honest, this is the first time I had heard about it as put in the agenda. And so it was on consent. And so I'd really ask that you guys keep us appraised. I am in constant communication with that community, which you guys will be doing part of the planning and outreach. And so I just respectfully ask that you guys keep us in the loop so that we can also pass on the message when you guys are putting that outreach. I want to be able to help with that and make sure that folks know when you guys are doing part of that. The other question I think is and thank you for your response. The other question, I think, Jennifer, if you could respond to just the RFP process, time frame for that, and who will be on the selection committee for that.
So let me pull up the, sorry, I have my timeline here. So once we receive approval from Caltrans to move forward with the grant, we will be initiating an RFP. Now, we do have to follow certain procedures for the issuance of the RFP. We have to have certain outreach for that particular RFP. We're anticipating that we will be looking at procuring a consultant October, November, and December of this year. That's our time frame to move forward with the consultant who would be doing the design. So that selection process, we have to have certain kinds of consultants who would bid on the work, and then they are selected based on the best qualified.
So we're thinking by the end of the year. Mm-hmm. And so once we have the consultant, that's when we'll be working with our outreach partners to do the outreach component? Is that how I'm
Correct.
understanding?
So they would be integrated directly with the outreach partners. They'll be doing the actual design work. They'll be doing leading the charrette. However, our local partners will be doing the actual outreach.
And so the outreach won't start until we have the consultant?
They're going to be laying the groundwork for that earlier on. So obviously there's a lot going on with Better Blackstone. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of communication that continues to occur. And so we'll be laying the groundwork so it won't be a surprise. People already know about it. We'll be able to make sure that your office and the other council offices touching this corridor will be involved in the process, and we'll be able to get the word out.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I think those were all my questions.
Thank you, Member Soria. Okay, the screen is clear. Anybody have a motion on this? Motion by Member Soria, second? Second by Member Baines. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0 with Member Olivier absent. Our last item on the consent calendar is 1N, another item sponsored by DARM. How are you, sir? Good to see you.
Good afternoon, Council President, Council members. Jose Gonzalez, Sustainable Division Manager with DARM.
Please proceed.
Well, there was a question that Council member had.
Thanks for bringing it to his attention.
Could we have a brief presentation so that everyone knows, I don't know, about the actual item?
Sure. This is regarding the EPIC grant, the ICRM project, which stands for Integrated Community Market Resource. So basically what that is a state-funded grant, and what we're trying to do is create a blueprint for the selected project area, which right now is explained as the Blackstone Corridor and the downtown area. And the concept is to create a blueprint of an advanced energy community, create an area where residential and businesses can have the best opportunity to prosper, create an area that is beneficial to the California Independent System Operator, as far as their grid, their resiliency and reliability. A location that can generate energy, can absorb energy, or can go solo and be off the grid. So there's a lot of information, a lot of technology, a lot of things that are going to be looked at within that area to create this advanced energy community.
Good with that? All right, good. Real quick then, advanced energy community, could you explain that? What is that?
That was pretty much what I just explained.
Oh, that was all the other stuff that followed that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, one of the things about an advanced energy community is that it comes in many variations of final results. We're too early in the game to actually give an exact detail of what it's going to look like. That's part of this investigation, this planning process.
Okay, so it's too early to see what it's going to look like. What do other communities that have done this type of grant look like then?
They're standalone communities, meaning that they can they have enough renewable to stand on their own, or they can benefit the independent system operator as far as grid resiliency, so they can generate power or absorb power.
Okay. Okay, and how much is the grant?
The grant is a total of about $1.5 million.
And who operates the? Is it similar to the city of Fresno receives the grant?
No, the lead on this grant is the Local Government Commission.
Mm-hmm.
They are the ones that are managing and responsible for all the deliverables to the state.
So they take the lead on it. We just sign on to the grant.
Correct. We're partners, and we're basically supporting the grant.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good.
Motion by Member Baines, second by Member Brandau. You have a motion and a second, but proceed, please.
I have a couple questions to ask. Thank you, Jose, for the brief presentation. I've actually learned a little bit more of what this grant is going to do with the previous meeting that I had with Danielle. So thanks for meeting with me, along with the partner there was the Local Government Commission was part of it. And so it's exciting to see this grant coming to the city of Fresno and what the administration is trying to do in terms of this advanced energy community, which is very similar, in fact, to what my office is trying to do. Or there's some parallels, I guess, for the small businesses within the Tower District and trying to look at energy efficiency and potential provide other opportunities for renewable energies in this area. So excited. I would have liked to see, and I will say, the tower be part of this. I don't know if at some point it can be, but I think that it's great. The other thing that I'd mention, I think that it's time for the city of Fresno to be a lead with its own public facilities, and I think that we're already looking at opportunities in terms of other energy sources, maybe solar. Like this building should be operated by solar. Our lights should be LED lights. I know I've been in conversations with. Our public works director, so I'm hoping over the course of the next few months, maybe we can come up with something, because I think that there's a true benefit to not only the city, really in terms of reducing our costs. And when we reduce costs, we have additional dollars for our infrastructure, for our roads, for our sidewalks. And so I'm excited about this potential opportunity. I know that businesses can also, especially small businesses, can benefit from looking at not only energy efficiency, but also other sources of energy. In my conversation, because we've actually done a lot of outreach to our small business community, and I know that you've been a part of these meetings, we've heard from our small business owners there's a need to help them find some of the resource to lower their energy costs. And so I think that this is a great opportunity for us to learn how we can look at energy and renewable energy as part of a project within our city. So excited about that. I do have just a couple questions. You guys put in detail in terms of how the grant is going to be expended. There's the CalSTART, and it says it's for transportation sector engagement. I was just wondering what that means. and what that's going to look like?
Sure. Well, CalStar's going to be looking at the transportation portion of the grant of the area. So they're going to be looking at bringing EV charging concepts as far as EV charging, fleet charging, electrifying the infrastructure versus using fossil fuels for transportation.
Perfect. Okay. Thank you. And I know that the city is a partner in it, and it seems like, at least from the staff report, the city will be provided about $54,000 for staff. What kind of work is it? Just more administration of the grant? What kind of work will the staff be doing?
Participation in meetings, assisting, supporting, providing input, and so that's really what it's going to be.
So, question. So, are we hiring new staff for this?
No, that's predominantly my time.
Okay. And so, should we be looking at potential, because I know that you do a number of things, and so to seem to bring another project for you to do when I know we've been in conversations, it seems like if we're being given additional dollars that we consider looking expanding the staff time, because I think that there is a need. So I would, ask us to really think about if we're putting more on our plate, are we going to be able to handle to do as much? So I know that this provides, I guess, for some reimbursement in terms of your time, but I think that if we really want to take advantage of some of the resources that your division and the staff that you have, I don't want to see you guys stretch too thin where you guys aren't able to provide some of those benefits that I know residents and other businesses within our community. So I would just forewarn that we should maybe be considering looking at additional staff. And so those will be my comments on just our engagement, I guess, in terms of that. And I think those are all my questions. So again, thank you for your time.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. Was there a nay? Oh, I'm sorry. 5-1, a nay or no by Member Brand, and Member Olivier is absent. So next we have our... You voted no too? Oh, I got Brand Dow. So, okay. Under the heading of leadership, we'll go into our closed session. City Attorney, is there an announcement regarding closed session?
Yes, under closed session, we have labor negotiations for the listed bargaining units. We also have potential litigation, Hustler Hollywood and City of Fresno, and then real property negotiation with a joint meeting with the successor agency and FRC with the listed APNs. And we do need to open this to public comment before we go into closed session.
With that, is there anyone in the public that wishes to come forward and discuss this item? Good to see you, Dee. You give us your name and address. And
Hi, Dee Barnes, President, Fresno City Employees Association, 1330 L Street, Suite G. Hopefully you all had a chance to read the letter that our attorney sent the other day that should have been included in your packets. I just wanted to once more mention that we have been in there was one error in the letter, by the way. The negotiations started in April of 2014, not 15. So we've been in negotiations for quite a bit over 2 years. We've been without a contract for over 2 years. The Fresno City employees, members, we are some of the lowest paid employees within the city. We're the first line staff. We deal a lot with the public. We are the ones that were the first employees to voluntarily give up hard dollars. That was not leave hours. That was hard cash dollars. Our last raise was in 2010. It was a 2% raise, and we'd gone 2 years before that without one. In 2010, we got a 2% raise, but in August of 2011, we gave back 3% of our salary, and we got 1% of that back the following year, so we were still giving 2% of our gross salary. and that was on top of 3 years of a 2% furlough. So when we started in negotiations in 2014, things were still precarious. What we asked for was a flat $100 a month just to cover the health insurance, because when you're making $2,200 a month and your health insurance jumps over $100, you're going backwards by about $50 a month. So we asked for a flat fee, and we asked for an F-step, which we're one of the few units that does not currently have an F-step. And we asked for that thinking that that would give some relief to the employees that had given up their salary and had stuck with the city and made sacrifices during the recession. And the city has not been willing to work with us. And we've gone a long time. We came up with some very creative ideas. And since we started negotiation, you guys remember Bonus Gate? I'm sure you've seen that there are quite a few employees in a couple of the bargaining groups, especially management, that through a comp study and reclass, some of them got $40,000 a year raises. They got huge increases. And I know Local 39, they've just finished a class in comp. Well, my unit, they started the class in comp, back in 2006, and we were told back then that some of our positions were too low. And that died. Nothing came of that. So I feel that our employees, my members, have been very patient. We gave the city a last best and final offer, which is very unusual. Usually it's the city doing it, but it had been dragging on for so long. We gave the last best and final the beginning of June, and we have still not heard anything back. And the longer the city goes dragging this out, the more my members are suffering, the more money the city is saving. And I would also like to point out that in 2011, the other sacrifice that our unit did, every member that has been hired since August of 2011, they're not at the city is not paying the 80% or the 75%. They're only paying 70%. So they have been saving money on a lot of our new members. So I just would really encourage you to consider the information we put in that letter and consider the fact that you have a lot of employees that stuck with the city and sacrificed, and they would like some consideration and a contract. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else in the public wish to come forward and address our closed session item, please do so. Seeing none, we will go into closed session and adjourn thereafter.
Yes, I would
Thank
not
you.
expect we'll need to come back into council chambers afterwards.
Thank you very much, City Attorney.